Hi, Democrats. Today is Thursday, February 8th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Thursday. I have been gone a week, and I'm telling you, there's just a whole lot to talk about. Obviously, it's Black History Month, and I had the honor this week of being invited to the White House by the President and Vice President and their spouses to celebrate Black History Month, and it was an awesome event to be a part of. And I can't wait to tell you more about it, but I'm not going to go into it. And for those who came out and joined me celebrating my birthday at trivia night last week, thank you. It was a good time, and I'm thinking about doing it again, but it's Thursday. And so since it's Thursday, I'm, Representative Mickey Dollens from House District 93 joins us every Thursday. So welcome, Mickey.
Hey, Alicia. Happy birthday and happy Black History Month. I'm so happy you're at Washington, D.C., celebrating this great month at the White House. Why don't you tell us some of the highlights? What is something that's really stood out to you in the past few days?
It's interesting because I was there with people from all over the country, not just chairs, but people from all over the country. And there was a sense of urgency about how important it is that we keep President Biden in the White House. And in my capacity as chair, what I need to say is that we keep a Democrat in the White House, because we don't know if there isn't a Democrat in the White House, if we'll be celebrating Black History Month next year. The president, the vice president, and they had a young man from Nevada come and give really touching comments. And as a surprise, Tank performed a couple of songs. And so it was a really interesting evening, and it was great to fellowship with folks, and not just politicals, but folks from all over the country. So it was really interesting.
Awesome. I'm glad you're up there and celebrating. It's been quite a week here in Oklahoma. We just kicked off our actual regular session on Monday with the governor's state of the state. And I've had quite a few people back in District 93 ask me for a recap. So if you'd like, I could update our viewers here on exactly what my thoughts are on the governor's state of the state.
I would love to hear, because I was out of the state, I listened to it, but I'd love to hear what it felt like sitting in the room.
Overall, it was about 40 minutes long, and unfortunately, the continued theme of fighting with the tribes was one of the main parts of the narrative. I thought that Chief Hoskin put out a great response, and how valuable and how the tribes are Oklahoma's greatest friends, one of our top employers. If it weren't for the tribes of the state, we'd really, really be in a rough position. And why the governor continues picking these fights is beyond me. Unfortunately, that was part of his narrative. And then also the other theme that I noticed was this narrative of less government, less government. I don't know how he can say that with a straight face when we're seeing contradictory bills. We're seeing the hypocrisy in wanting to take away freedoms. It seems like the controlling politicians in this building, in the state capitol, are wanting to control, intrude, and be invasive at any chance they get. Not all of them, but there's a handful of them. One of the examples that I'm talking about we'll actually hear on Monday in the Elections and Ethics Committee. This bill would ban ranked choice voting across the entire state, not just from the state government doing it, but from local municipalities. One of the top things I hear from people is that they wish that they had an alternative selection. And I mean, well, we're Democrats, but some people wish that third-party candidates had a viable pathway. And they feel like they're just in a closed box between a Republican and a Democrat. And I said, well, have you thought about ranked choice voting? And when they look into it, they say, well, this gives a pathway forward for independents, for libertarians, but it also encourages positive campaigning. If you're out there trying to appeal to a broader electorate, you're not spending your valuable, precious time slandering and defaming your opponent. You're talking about your ideas, what you bring to the table, how it can help all of your electorate. It saves money by not having to go into runoff elections. There's just a lot of good things about it. And when I asked the author, what is the reason for wanting to do a complete ban from across the state? What about local control? Oh, it's because the voting machines cannot accommodate ranked choice voting. So I called up the Elections Commission and I asked, well, when were the last time our voting machines were updated? 2012. And here's the good news. They're due for an upgrade in about 4 years. And I asked, well, will the new machines be able to accommodate ranked choice voting? And they said, absolutely. All of the new machines going forward that we would buy would have the capacity, would have the ability to accommodate ranked choice voting. But they're trying to be preemptive and jump out in front of it and prevent that from happening. Why? It's a way to retain control. Control, that's what they're talking about. They're trying to still dismantle the ballot initiative process, trying to make it harder for people to file initiative petitions, make it harder for it to pass, make it harder for the petitioners who only have a limited 90-day window to get out and gather the signatures. This whole theme of less government is contradictory to the bills that we're having to vote on and that we will be voting on in this upcoming session.
You know, when I hear less government in Oklahoma, what I also feel like they're saying is less participation from citizens. Because with the ballot initiative process, the way it is set up now, I feel like it doesn't give full inclusion for our rural neighbors. And it's like, let's think about the entire state. And so when I hear them saying we want less government, I think of who is going to be left out of the process. And in a lot of these processes, it's people from rural communities, it's our underrepresented folks, and we all need to be included in the process.
You bring up a really good point. And because of the nature of our very limited 90-day window that petitioners can go out and gather 90,000 signatures for a constitutional amendment, over 170,000 signatures, because they only have 90 days, they're limited to having to gather signatures in the most densely populated areas, which are Tulsa and Oklahoma City. I have a bill that would expand that window gathering process from 90 to 180 days, which you just mentioned would give petitioners the opportunity to go to rural Oklahoma, gather more votes, or more signatures, I should say, and have an overall better representative democracy.
And I think that that's what we should be shooting for. I don't know which one of us is frozen, but I'm just...
And that's exactly what we should be going for. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like that bill will get a committee hearing.
I have a question about the state of the state.
Alicia, I think your internet there cut out just for a little bit. I didn't catch that last part you said.
Okay, so I have a question about the state of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Did the governor double down, triple down, I guess, on his top 10 agenda?
You know, I think the top 10 was maybe mentioned 2 times, if that. You can't deny the fact that we are worse off in all of the metrics that we would prefer to be top 10. And one of the top in child hunger. We have the least amount spent in per pupil funding when it comes to students. While we have made advances over the past 7 to 8 years in education funding, we're still behind when you account for the other states in the region that are competing and then recruiting some of our best teachers. So no, there wasn't a lot of talk around the aspirational top 10 goal. It was mostly platitudes. There was kind of an interesting formula for success the governor laid out, and that was graduate high school, get a job, get married. I think the governor is out of touch because I can't tell you how many people I have in my district who are working full 40-hour weeks at minimum wage or just a little over and are still struggling so hard to get by. I can't tell you how many families in my district got married, have kids, and are barely, and if that even in many cases, not able to afford childcare. And so all of these issues, I can proudly say that the House Democratic Caucus has filed legislation for. Leader Munson has done a great job, along with the leadership team, which I'm honored to be a part of making sure that we have bills ready to go to address many of these issues. I brought up the child care issue. Representative Schreiber out of Tulsa has a child care tax credit. Representative Leader Munson has a bill that would expand the earned income tax credit, a proven way to help working Oklahomans keep more of their money. We have the elimination of the state sales tax on groceries by Representative Provenzano. Universal school meals by Representative Mintz. We have ways and bills to invest that we can use to invest in the state that will make Oklahoma a great place, that when companies are looking to relocate, they can look at Oklahoma if they had our bills in place, and they could say, yes, that is a state where my employees would be happy to live, because there are opportunities for not only them, but their children and their grandchildren to reach their full potential. We also have pay raises for support staff by Representative Mintz. Representative Waldron has a early childhood education bill. Representative Rosecrans, of course, is pushing legislation that would encourage more play in the classroom and really perpetuate authentic learning. All of these bills are so great, but unfortunately, it's so far and few between. But when we have the opportunity to present our bills in committee, much less get them heard on the floor.
Well,
so there is alternatives. There is alternatives to the status quo. The bills are ready to go. It's just a matter of us having an opportunity to go to work our bills through the legislative process in order to make a difference for the better for all Oklahomans.
And that's what I was going to say. I'm so proud of the House Dems, because those bills sound like they're about uplifting Oklahomans, helping Oklahomans with a leg up, helping folks perhaps get to middle class. And those are the kinds of bills that we need in Oklahoma to pull us off of the bottom 10 of the list that we're on. As a woman, I am struck by the fact that we're number 51 in outcomes for women in the nation, number 51. I wish that his aspirations were.
I think we lost Alicia there. While she's coming back to that, I will talk about some legislation that I've got queued up to hear next week in some committees. One that I'm very passionate about will address the homelessness issue. Alicia, you back? Okay. We lost your connection there. I can
hear you. Okay. Yeah, we're back. Okay.
We lost your. I was just moving on to some legislation for next week. I have 3 bills that are going to be heard in committee, so I'm really happy for that. One of the bills will address the homelessness issue that we have in South Oklahoma City and in all counties across the state. What this would do is it would allow for people who are experiencing homelessness to be able to get a replacement state ID or birth certificate for free. Now, in order to do that, they would have to verify that they're indeed homeless by a DHS service worker or anyone working at a homeless shelter. And we will be able to replace that. And I came up with this idea. One, a constituent brought it to my issue. But over the interim, I had the opportunity to visit with some unhoused people in our community. And they said a barrier to employment services, to healthcare services, is a lack of state ID. And I said, well, can't you just get another one? They're like, yes. After accumulating $25, and when you're living day to day on barely anything to get food, it's hard to save up even $25. So this isn't like an end all be all, but it is a step in the right direction into helping people who are homeless overcome some of the obstacles that continue to keep them down. And I hope to come up with more of these or listen to Oklahomans across the state who have more good ideas like this, because I feel like cumulatively it can make a difference for the better.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Awesome. Like I said, I am so proud of the Democrats in the House. I wanted to real briefly, because I would be remiss if I didn't mention the border bill that got tanked this week, and get your hot take on that.
Oh, on the federal level.
On the federal level.
Yeah, because of course you have Governor Stitt, who is playing political theater by sending Oklahoma troops, Oklahoma National Guard, down to the border, but unless they're activated by the federal government, they can't partake in much of anything except, like last time, traffic control. So that is a performative stunt I'd like to just mention right away. But at the federal level, I want to give props to Senator Langford, who is doing his job and doing all he can to secure the border, to keep America safe by working across the aisle with Democrats to get a bipartisan border deal done. And when they get it done, his Republican caucus, the majority of them at the federal level, say this is an issue that needs to remain a problem until December. Because what's in November? The election. So basically they're saying this is what we're going to campaign on. Keep it a problem. Don't try to fix it. Or as he said, they, quote, said his own party would destroy him. And they've been taking low blow after low blow attacks on Senator Langford for simply doing his job and doing the right thing. It's a disgrace, and they should get the border deal done. They should secure a border. It's a matter of national safety.
I agree. I rarely say nice things about our senior senator, but this time he did the work. He complains about the border. He sat down. He came up with a plan, and his own party didn't want it to happen. And I just think we have to mention it, since our governor insists that we are a border state, even though in my mind we border Kansas and Arkansas and Texas.
Yes. And for the past 7 years, now 8 years that I've been in the Oklahoma House of Representatives, on President's Day, which is a federal holiday, Senator Langford comes to the state capitol and he takes time out of his schedule to visit with House Democrats and Senate Democrats for about an hour each, answering questions, giving us straightforward answers. And that has meant a lot. Can't say that for all of our Congress members or current senators. So we appreciate Senator Langford for taking time to visit with us behind closed doors without any cameras and talk to us and give us information at the federal level, because we're all in this together as Oklahomans.
Absolutely. And so I want to answer Linda Phillips' question. The last thing I saw about the minimum wage is that the petition on the minimum wage is that it's still up for debate. They're still not allowed to collect signatures yet. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Linda. About a week ago, here in the state capitol, the state Supreme Court met to hear verbal arguments on whether or not the petition as it is constitutional. One of the issues is the tying the minimum wage to some numbers at the federal level. The opposition says that only the state legislature can pull the purse strings and give raises on the minimum wage. So that argument, they heard the verbal sides from the yes and the no's, and the state Supreme Court will make a decision, hopefully in a not too distant future.
Awesome. All righty. I love Thursdays with Representative Dollens. Thank you so very much for joining us. I'm sorry we're having technical difficulties. I'm in downtown in a busy city, and I think I'm competing with their internet. But we will be back next week. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.